Welcome to the Real Estate Secrets Podcast for healthcare professionals, hosted by Austin Hare and Nathan Palmer, who together have over 2 decades of real estate knowledge and investing.
Hey guys, welcome to Real Estate University for Healthcare Practices. Today we've got a guest on the show, Corey Graft. Corey, how's it going, man?
Austin, thanks for asking me to be here with you. I'm doing great. How are you?
Awesome. Well, Corey's been working with us here at Leaders Real Estate Development, and he is the founder of Halo Virtual Tours. And we're going to talk about virtual tours today and just do a real deep dive into the pros and cons and what is a virtual tour. So for people who are listening in, they don't have any idea, they've never even heard the term virtual tour, how would you explain that to somebody?
Right, Austin. I mean, you can ask 100 people what a virtual tour is, and you can get 100 different answers. I think a lot of people have seen what they consider to be a virtual tour, in where it's a nice video walkthrough of a building, or it's like a photograph that you can sort of scan around. But honestly, there's so much more. They're versatile, they're in depth. It's really basically creating a digital twin of a building or a space. I mean, you can really glean all kinds of information from a virtual tour, and it enables you to walk around and view a space like as if you were there in person.
Okay. Yeah, and I know that's really popular in residential, but it's a tool that's really underutilized in commercial real estate, really. So I think it's going to be an interesting episode for sure. So we got this massive device here in the background. Can you explain what this is that we're looking at?
Right. So this is one of our state-of-the-art capture tools. And this is what we're going to take into a space. And we actually set this down and we move it about 6 feet apart every time we take a scan. And what this will do is it actually spins around and it shoots lasers, it shoots range and distance measuring sensors, and it also shoots photographs as it spins. And so what this is doing is it's collecting information about the space that it's in. It's shooting lasers here to detect how far away objects are, walls, whatever it's looking at. And it uses that to create a three-dimensional mesh image of a space.
Yeah, and it's crazy because just looking at it, like, it's kind of clunky, you know? Like, you wouldn't necessarily think that it has so much technology going into it, but it almost looks like an old-fashioned camera. But obviously an old-fashioned camera, like with these this proportions, would never be able to have a fraction of the technology that this thing has.
Right. We're very fortunate that all this technology, I mean, most of this came out of like a military type of application. And then over time, it's been privatized and we're able to leverage it to do things that you never thought possible before. And I mean, this camera just opens up so many possibilities, not only with marketing space or taking photos of space, but documenting construction and working with insurance claims, all kinds of things.
Okay, so let's talk about how does the virtual process work?
So the virtual process is pretty easy. You're able to book a tour directly from our website, and then we're able to go ahead and get that scheduled with you, and one of our professionals will come out to your site. And it takes them, depending on the size of the site, it could take an hour, it could take 4 to 5 hours to go ahead and walk through the site, take all of your scans, and then we'll come back and we run all of the scans into our mesh creation algorithm. And so basically what that does is it stitches all of these images and measurements together to create this three-dimensional model. We call it a dollhouse in our industry. And
Makes sense.
Yeah, it's basically like looking at a child's dollhouse. You're able to maneuver it and look at your property from all angles and zoom in and out. And basically from that, we're able to use that to create a tour to fit our clients' needs, whether it's a virtual walkthrough, a video tour created from the virtual mesh, or perhaps they're using it for advertisement for their business.
And where do you, so you make a call, go on the website, they come out, take the shots, stitch it together on the back end. Where do you view these tours?
So you can really look at this tour anywhere you want. So whatever you're watching this podcast on, you should be able to view the tour on, right? So your iPhone, your iPad, your Android, basically anything with a web browser, you're able to view these tours. I mean, and it's the first time you hold your iPad up and you start to walk around a space that you're familiar with, it's amazing. You have more questions than ever before.
All right, and so I know there's, you've got residential real estate, you've got commercial real estate. Within commercial real estate, you've got multifamily, you've got healthcare, you've got retail, office, industrial. Is there an ideal use case? Is there an ideal user for this?
So really, that's the great part about virtual tours is pretty much everybody has an ideal use case for them. Whether you're in the insurance industry and you want your clients to document spaces before a claim happens or after a claim when it's in process. So I've seen virtual tours used where they'll actually go into a space that's been flooded And the tour is created, and then contractors come through with their FLIR, their thermal imaging cameras. They're able to picture in the walls, show you where water is, and I'm able to actually embed those photos right into the tour so that when anybody's looking through it to decide on your claim, they're able to pull quickly up and look at the damage in detail and see what's going on. As far as office is concerned, look at marketing an office. Right now, what do people want in that space? They want a place where their employees are going to want to come to work, where they're going to have a lot of amenities, and this is a great way to market themselves, not only when the space comes up for sale or lease, but when they're actually looking to hire people within their company.
Right, yeah. No, that makes total sense. And so in terms of benefits, what would you say is a top benefit of having a virtual tour?
So the top benefit by far is you're able to view this tour 24 hours a day at your leisure from wherever you are. So in today's climate, there's never been a better time to not have to go places and to see things and do things in person. And this is just one step forward in the way of connecting all of the world into a global economy, right? So this is able to enable somebody on the other side of the country to physically feel like they've seen a space in person. And so you're going to enable deals from a distance like you've never seen before with this sort of technology.
Right. And how would you compare it to like going in and taking pictures versus conducting like an entire virtual tour?
So I know a lot of people ask me that question, but they usually ask, why don't I just get a video tour, right? And the best answer I can give on that is whoever's making that video tour decides what you want to look at, right? Whereas if when you're taking a virtual tour, you decide what's important to you to see. So maybe for somebody, they're interested in what the lobby and the reception area looks like within a medical practice, right? But an investor, that might not be what they're interested in. They might want to see how many exam rooms there are, how they're laid out within the space, where the plumbing is, the MEPs, all of that within the space. So it really provides a lot of versatility for whoever's taking the tour.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. We were recently looking at some houses, my wife and I, that had virtual tours, and with, like you said, with a video tour, it could take a while. Like if you want to watch it fast, you might miss some things, you might skip over some things. And I agree, like having that customization, I can a video might be 5 minutes long or 4 minutes long, and I have to watch the entire thing if I want to get a feel. Virtual tour, I might be able to quickly go through all the different rooms I want to in 30 seconds. And it's up to me how long I want to take.
Right. And what if, Austin, when you're deciding on a space, you don't know if certain equipment's going to fit through the door, if certain things are going to fit on certain walls? Well, the benefit of these, with this type of technology, this camera is able to capture distance with over 99% accuracy. So you're able to, as an end user, go in very easily with a very small learning curve, hardly any at all, and measure out distances. You can measure how large a countertop is, how wide a door frame is, how tall the ceilings are, whatever you want to measure within that. So it's very versatile, it's very useful, and it saves a lot of people time from having to go back to sites to do measurements, to capture things, to try to remember what they saw. So it's a very powerful tool.
And so what about is there any data out there, like what does this do to the time in the market? Let's say you get a virtual tour. Can you measure any sort of like ROI or anything quantifiable?
Right. Well, the tours, yes, there's quantifiable data. There's been multiple studies done out there. Some of the information that I've seen from these studies is up to 31% fewer days on the market for a property with a virtual tour than a similar property in a similar market without a virtual tour. And on top of that, I'm seeing in other studies, it's saying you're closing for 4 to 9% closer to the asking price when you have a virtual tour on your property. And then some more statistics that I've kind of prepared would be, I've seen some statistics saying that out of 1,000 respondents, 1,000 respondents said that they would prefer to view a property with a virtual tour. So you can see how people are fairly compelled by the detail that they're able to find from these.
Right. And really, I mean, at this stage, it's almost surprising that it's not mandatory. It's almost surprising that it's not a necessity because you're simply not allowed to go do a lot of in-person visits or if they are, there's a lot of restrictions. You got to wear the face coverings and you got to be really careful and stuff like that. And that's something, even though I believe restrictions are going to go down, I think that it's going, COVID-19 is just going to forever change the way we do business. It's speeding up all these things that have been in the works for a while.
It is. I mean, you couldn't be more right. I mean, a year ago, maybe half of us use Zoom on a daily basis. I would say a lot more of us use it now. And just to elaborate more on that, think about the time saved. Think about your ability to pre-qualify people to even visit a site in the first place. I know a lot of people in this industry are starting to use these type of virtual tours to say, look, you want to get in the door to see this property? You need to take the virtual tour first to make sure it's for you. And honestly, it's very helpful, saving time on both ends of a real estate deal.
Yeah, and honestly, it is surprising to me. I mean, I understand a lot of people have been in this industry in a long time, and that's the way they do things, just the way they do things. They don't want to change. But man, like, your time is money, and the amount of time spent showing people locations, like physically showing them, like walking up. I mean, just when I was looking at different spaces for my businesses and my gyms, I mean, we had to go to so many different locations.
Right.
And physically, because you got, you see the pictures, but physically walking in the door. And not only, I mean, I'm the business owner, I'm going to be very particular about it, obviously, but like just the amount of time from the landlord's perspective and the realtor's perspective.
Right.
And like on both sides. And yeah, sure, like they're paid a commission or whatever, but just think about like if you're saving them time, you now have something that you can use to negotiate with the representing broker, right? The landlord, if you're the landlord. So it doesn't make sense to me not to do it. And so that kind of leads me to my next question is like, all right, so if I get it, a virtual tour makes sense, I'm sold, but there's probably a handful of companies doing this. Why would I want to use Halo over, somebody else?
So I'm glad you asked. I think we have a very unique value proposition within the marketplace. So what our mission is to use the best technology in the industry to deliver you the best tour or catalog of your property, and we try to do it for the lowest upfront cost that you're going to find out there.
Okay, so like you're saying the barrier to entry is the absolute lowest with Halo than any other virtual tour, pretty much.
From all of the prices I've researched, we are the lowest upfront cost to get a tour online.
Okay. Yeah, so once somebody comes out, they take the photos, they do the scan. I mean, how long are you looking? Like, what's the process like from by the time it's literally online, ready to go, they can showcase this, put it on their website, whatever?
So it depends on whether or not you want a site plan, a schematic drawn up alongside the tour. But typically speaking, you can consider your tour to be live within 2 days of us being on site, sometimes one.
And is there any geographic limitations to this, like certain places you are limited to? I mean,
the only limiting factor is the ambient lighting in the room. You really need light for these sensors in this camera to work well. There's circumstances where we could take, portable powered lights and make something work, but you really
I should clarify,
want the lighting.
I should clarify, like, is there any like states or locations or cities that you won't go to?
No, call us. We'll go there.
Okay, but in the U.S., right? Like continental U.S., pretty much?
Yeah, pretty much. And if we can't get there, we will find you a service professional that will fit your needs.
Okay. Is any international yet or just U.S.?
I've not personally worked internationally, but that's not something that would be out of the question.
Okay. Yeah, so in recap, I mean, sounds like you're going to have your listing up for less amount of time if you go with a virtual tour. You're going to get a better price for it, and you're going to save a lot of time. So, yeah, it seems like the way of the future. I can't imagine very much longer where people are not using virtual tours as a standard. So it just seems like one of those things that you should get ahead of the bell curve on.
Right. Oh, it absolutely is. And if your listeners would like to try one of our tours and take it out, they'd be able to do that on our website. It would be halovirtualtours.com.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put that in the show notes, and I'll drop your email address as well. That if anybody wants to get in touch with you, then they can reach out. So
yeah, I appreciate it.
Cool, man. Well, hey, it was great having you on the show. Great catching up.
Austin, yeah, thanks for having me. I appreciate you listeners taking the time to learn about what's out there and hopefully further their business as well.
Yeah. It's one of the many tools out there, but I think it's a pretty cool thing to have in your back pocket. So we appreciate it.
Yeah, I think it's a great force multiplier in today's market. So thanks, Austin.
All right. See you guys.
If you need help finding the perfect location for your practice or you're ready to invest in commercial real estate, email us podcast@leadersre.com. That's podcast@leadersre, R-E as in realestate.com. Or go to leadersre.com and fill out our form. See you next time.